Hey guys, it's your girl Rose, and today we're going to be reading some Am I the A-Hole stories on Reddit. So today's first story is from Key Silly, and it's called Am I the A-Hole for leaving my husband during our wedding day? I, 28 female, left my husband, 29 male, on our wedding day, and now I'm questioning if I was in the wrong. We've been together for 5 years and engaged for 1. Throughout our relationship, there were moments of doubt, but I brushed them off, thinking it was just pre-wedding jitters. Our family and friends were excited, and the wedding planning was going smoothly. My husband is a charming and charismatic guy, and everyone seemed to adore him. The wedding itself started off beautifully. The weather was perfect, the venue was stunning, and everything was going according to plan. I felt like I was living a dream as I walked down the aisle towards him. The ceremony was emotional, and I was overwhelmed with joy and love as we exchanged our vows. After the ceremony, we moved to the reception. The venue was decorated with twinkling lights, flowers, and everything I've ever dreamed of. As the evening progressed, everyone seemed to be having a great time. There were speeches, toasts, and lots of dancing. I felt so happy and blessed thinking about the life we were about to start together. However, during the reception, something happened that changed everything. I went to the bridal suite to freshen up and overheard my husband having a conversation with his best man just outside the door. At first, I thought it was just typical guy talk, but then I heard him say something that made my blood run cold. He was laughing and joking about how he was only marrying me because it was the right thing to do, and that he wasn't sure if he truly loved me. He mentioned that he felt trapped by our family's expectations and he didn't want to disappoint them. My heart sank. Here I was, thinking we were starting a new chapter of our lives based on love and commitment. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It felt like a punch to the gut. I stood there, frozen, as he continued talking. My husband said he hoped he could grow to love me and that maybe marriage would fix things. His best man didn't seem shocked or surprised, which made me think that they've had this conversation before. Devastated, I decided to take a moment to myself and process what I just heard. I went back to the bridal suite, tears streaming down my face. That's when I saw his phone on the dresser, buzzing with notifications. I knew I was wrong, but in my state of shock and hurt, I picked it up and unlocked it. What I found next is a complete shock. There were texts from another woman, someone I didn't recognize. They had been seeing each other for months, and the texts were explicit. She was congratulating him on the wedding, but also expressing her frustration that he was going through with it. There were photos, intimate messages, and even plans they'd made to meet up after our honeymoon. My hands were shaking as I read through these messages, feeling like my world was collapsing around me. I felt betrayed and humiliated. Not only did my husband have doubts about our marriage, but he had also been cheating on me. I couldn't face the rest of the evening pretending everything was fine. I needed to get out of there to clear my head and figure out what to do next. So I quietly left the reception and went to a friend's place where I stayed the night. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I just needed to get out of there. The next day, my phone was flooded with messages and calls from family and friends, all confused and worried. My husband was frantic, apologizing and saying he didn't mean what he said. It was just nerves and stupid banter. He claimed he was drunk and that his words were taken out of context. When I confronted him about the text, he broke down and admitted to the affair, saying it was a mistake and that he wanted to make things right. Our families are split. Some think I overreacted and should have stayed to work things out, while others support my decision to leave and reevaluate our relationship. I met with my husband a few days later to talk. He looked genuinely remorseful and kept apologizing, but I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. He admitted that he had doubts, but insisted that he loved me and wanted to make our marriage work. I told him I needed time to think, and since then, I've been staying with a close friend while I sort through my emotions. Now I'm torn. Did I overreact by leaving on our wedding day? Should I have confronted him then and there, or did I do the right thing by taking a step back to gather my thoughts? I feel guilty for leaving in such a dramatic way, but I also feel justified in needing my time to process such a huge revelation. Am I the a-hole for leaving my husband on our wedding day? So first off, I'm so sorry this happened to you. This is such a horrible situation to be in, but you are totally justified in leaving. I know some people have different opinions, but to me, cheating is never justified because if you're not happy in a relationship, you should just end it or talk it through if you can. But if it is something that really cannot be resolved, then end it. You don't need to cheat. So, and even finding it out on your wedding day, that is just such a horrible thing. I don't really think that you can recover from hearing your husband say that he doesn't love you if after this many years, right, you guys have been together for 6 years total and he still doesn't love you even though he proposed to you. And I mean, I don't think you can expect this to ever change. And you've seen that he's not trustworthy, so there's no basis for a relationship. Let's see what some Reddit commenters think. So Snoo Advice says, just get an annulment and an STD panel, that's all. Yes, exactly. Headbite says, all those people saying you should stay and work things out don't have your best interest at heart. I would have left for his comments alone, but he is also cheating. He was planning to meet her after your honeymoon. He doesn't love you. He will forever resent you in this marriage because he didn't want to get married, and he will cheat every chance he gets. He probably wants you to forgive him now because everyone is judging him and he's once again trying to fulfill family expectations. Prestigious Blue Jay says, just tell the officiant not to send in the paperwork or license. No file, no marriage. Yes, exactly. So if you break it off right now, it's going to be so much easier than having to go through a whole divorce later once it becomes more official, I guess. Because right now, if the paperwork isn't filed, you can still cancel it easily. You just unfortunately lost the money of the wedding. So it definitely seems like everyone on Reddit is totally agreeing on not the a-hole for the OP, but definitely the a-hole for her husband or soon to be ex-husband, hopefully. And now I want to know, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. So our next story is by Significant Skin 547. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband that his mom deserves nothing if he were to die in an accident? Title seems harsh, but let's get into it. Recently, my husband has been talking about taking a life insurance policy. I am in favor of this as we have a baby and he is pursuing a career as a pilot. This weekend, he walked into our bedroom and said that he had researched a policy he'd like to get for $3 million. He then says, I think I'll set it up so half is for you and half for my mom. Okay, I get the OP's questioning here. I am American, he is Cuban. His mother and the rest of his family currently live in Latin America. They do okay for themselves, but the standard of living is a bit different from the US. They're not crazy. She's not happy there, and we've been trying to sponsor her to come to the US. I like his mom, and we have supported her in many ways, such as paying for multiple trips to Cuba, paying to send suitcases, parcels with clothes, shoes to them, cash gifts when we visit, etc. When he says this about splitting the life insurance policy, something in my gut felt weird. I think it showed on my face because he asked me, and I said it seemed odd to me. That it seemed like these kinds of legal financial things should be set up for a small family, and that I would not just leave his family hanging if anything were to happen. Okay, so I think you mean that you would want it to be set up for your family, but that you'll still support his mother financially, but you just want to have the legal documents all in your family's name, which I think is reasonable. He was defensive, asking why I didn't want his mom to get anything. I wasn't saying that, but I didn't really have words to explain what I was feeling. I was clear that of course I would want his mom to receive funds if something so tragic happened, but that it seemed like legally this policy should be set up for me and our kid, plus future kids. Round and round we went. My logic, say he passes away in an accident in 20 years. We have 3 kids, his mom is still alive and pushing 80. 1.5 million is excessive for someone of her age and lifestyle. For example, it gets split evenly between the 3 kids. A lot of money, but obviously you can't do as much with 500K as you can with 1.5 million. I think it's logical to say that cost of life and living for an elderly woman versus a young family of four is very different, and that different quantities of money should be allocated because of this. Yeah, I think this makes sense. So far, I'm agreeing with you. Also, I want to be part of this decision. Him waltzing in and telling me what he's going to do doesn't fly with me, especially as we are equal earners in our home and share finances, so I'm paying for half of this policy. His logic, I should think of it as two separate policies. 1.5 for his family, 1.5 for me and our kids. That our kids will get 500K, which is a lot of money. That 500K is better than nothing, and isn't it good enough that he's thinking of us and setting us up for a good life? He continuously accuses me of not wanting his mom to get any money. He also called me selfish, implying that I just wanted more money for myself. He says, of course, his mom would share this money with the rest of his family, dad, sister, and nephews. I don't have great words for how I feel. It just doesn't feel normal to me. Am I the a-hole? Okay, so I do get both perspectives. I understand he wants to provide for his mother and make sure she's set up, and also that you feel like 1.5 million is a lot of money if she's elderly, like in 20 years, and she won't be able to use up all that money. And then this will end up becoming inheritance for her other children, so it won't be split back between your kids, even though you're paying for it. So essentially, you and your husband will have been paying for a life insurance policy for his mom. And if she is elderly by the time that it ends up getting used, then she won't have time to use all of that money up. And whatever is left will end up being separated between her heirs, and that won't include your kids unless they're written in the will. The rules for inheritance will depend on where you guys are living at that time, but typically it will either fully go to the spouse or be separated between spouse and children. And then in this case, the children will be your husband's sister. So it won't be going back to your kids, even though you guys are paying for it. I do get, though, his point of wanting his mom to be cared for. And of course, we don't know, like, he could pass away in a year and then she would have time to spend that money. So it is hard to say. However, I mean, you're both paying for it. And then this amount is also affecting what you have left over for your household expenses. I feel like if you really want the 3 million life insurance policy for you and your kids, that you should pay for that together. And then since of course right now he's willing to pay for that amount of life insurance, and if he wants more for his mother, then he could get a separate policy for a lower amount. Or you could do 2.5 million for your family and then 500,000 for his mom, so she'll still have that financial security net, and your family will still have more of that money. And then if something happens where she ends up needing more, then you can always help her out if you choose to. But then you know that your kids will be secure with that higher amount of money. So let's read some comments now. Disastrous Donut says, not the a-hole. Typically, a life insurance policy is intended to cover the losses associated with someone's death. That includes costs of burial, etc., and also the loss of income of the person dying. Your first step should be to calculate the financial impact of your husband dying. How much money would he earn over the remainder of his career? How would the loss of that income impact your ability to pay the mortgage or your kids' ability to go to college? That's how you should think about life insurance for your family. Yeah, so with kids, especially since you don't know yet how many kids you will end up having, the college, university costs will put a huge dent in that life insurance policy. And you also have to keep in mind that you have to support all the other family costs for the rest of your life. And I don't know how old you are right now, but let's say you're in your 30s. If he passes away in a couple years, then that could mean 50 or even 60 years of still having to cover your finances. And you know, like right now you have a well-paying job, but you don't know how life can turn out, right? So that's why we have the life insurance to cover those risks. It's not unreasonable to consider that your husband won't be able to contribute as much to his family, but he's treating this more like buying lottery tickets for her every month, and it's reasonable to not want to put that in the family budget. Ad Piava responds, this comment nails it. My friend's husband passed away, leaving a $100K life insurance payout. It's been 6 years and she's looking at having to move in with her parents because she can't afford life with 2 kids on only her income. And someone else says that they also have it set up that if either spouse dies, the other gets 100K. And then Kenosha Punk says, whoa, I gotta say 100K is essentially nothing if you have kids. You want to replace your partner's earnings, not just cover some costs. 500K to 1 million is more like the right amount. Yeah, so definitely try to discuss it with your husband. See if you could have a higher percentage of that policy for you and your children, and then the rest for your mother. And also, I was just thinking about it now, like, why can't your mother have an equal share that your children will have? Like, right now, she's having the same share that your whole family will be having. But it would make more sense if she had one part of it. So like if you guys had 3 kids plus you, right? Because you also count in this policy. So that's 4 people for your family. And then you add her, and then she could have 1/5 of the policy. And I feel like that would make more sense. So in that situation, you and your kids would end up having 2.4 million, and then she would have 600,000. And I feel like that's a really good amount, especially because she isn't going to be losing your partner's earnings. She'll be losing some support that your family is giving her, but it's not the same as losing a full spouse. Let me know your thoughts on both of these stories below in the comments, and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!